Welcome in, I'm Artris, and in this video we're going to be going over one of my favorite leaders to ever come into the One Piece card game, and that is Blue Black Rebecca, all the way from back in OP04. Now, Blue Black Rebecca is a very unique leader in that she cannot attack. She has an ability that reads, activate main once per turn, you can pay 1 Dawn. If you have 6 or less cards in your hand, look at 2 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Dressrosa type card, and add it to your hand, then trash the rest. So with that in mind, the way that Rebecca usually is played out is very much a control-oriented style of play, where you're getting Dressrosa characters in your hand, but also filling up your trash along the way so that you're able to at least use that trash, or maybe use abilities that take advantage of your trash number. With the bans coming into place April 1st, I think that a lot of people are trying to figure out what exactly they should be playing in the meta, and I know that we've seen a rise up of certain red decks like Shanks and Zoro, and I think that a lot of people are trying to figure out what's the best control deck to be able to counter those or play against those. And honestly, Rebecca is a very good choice overall. Now, I put her in an A tier when I was making an updated tier list with the bans in mind, and that might have been a little bit of a cope pick, of course, but I always will support Rebecca and try to figure out a way to make her work. But as I tested a bunch of different builds out, I found that she is in a very interesting spot, and I don't know if she's necessarily an amazing leader right now. The thing is, she has potential, and I don't know if I've cracked the exact list. I've seen a bunch of different lists go around. They've definitely felt good in some matchups, but then in other matchups feel really flat. In some deck lists, I see 10 cost Kuzan, I see 8 cost Isho, and trust me, I've ran a bunch of different combinations of different characters and cost reduction and KO effects to see what works best. And I feel like the list that we have here is probably at least the most refined at the moment. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best, but I do think that there's a lot of combo potential that you can take advantage of in Rebecca. But before we go over the deck list and why we made the decisions to put certain cards in and exclude other cards, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to drop a sub, and if you enjoy the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. It helps out the channel so much, and I cannot thank you guys all enough for the support. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, please make sure to join the Discord. The link for that is in the description below. So starting off, I have 2 of the new OP10 Sabo 2K counters. This is a great card if you're wanting to protect your board and maybe you don't have a blocker Sabo. What it does, it says if one of your characters other than Sabo with an original cost of 7 or lower would be removed from the board by your opponent's effect, you may instead return this character to your hand. Now, we don't have anything in the deck that's higher than a 7 cost. Sabo will be able to protect everything on the field. The only thing here is that it cannot protect itself, so usually an opponent will just target it instead of targeting something else, and that's totally fine with us. Next, I'm running 3 Brook. This is one of the best cards to come out of EBO1. It's a 3 cost character that says on play when attacking, give it to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost for this turn, then KO up to one of your opponent's 0 cost characters. What's most important here is that it is able to -1 to anything on the field, and we have a new card in OP10 with the 4 cost Zoro, which KOs a 4 cost, which we'll get to in a second, but this will allow you to hit a 5 cost. There's a lot of good 5 cost characters that Zoro alone just cannot hit, so having a Brook on the field first, swinging with it, and then playing a Zoro down will oftentimes get you exactly what you're needing for that combo. The other thing here is that it can be brought out with Rebecca, so this is also a nice little combo piece when you are playing your 4 cost Rebecca blocker. Then we have 4 Orlumbus. This is an activate main once per turn to reduce the cost of one of your opponent's characters by -4, and then trash the top 2 cards of your deck. So once again, we're filling up our deck here. We have cost reduction. This is a Dressrosa character. Then KO up to one of your Dressrosa type characters. This is not necessarily a big hindrance here because we do have a fair amount of Dressrosa characters that we can just kind of like use as fodder, including our searchers. We can also use things like the 2K we just talked about, or other characters that might have already swung and we don't necessarily need them rested anymore. So Orlumbus is really good to be able to get a lot of things within range of KOing or bottom decking. Then I'm running 3 Sabo. This is just the 5 cost blocker that says on play, your characters can't be KO'd for an entire turn cycle, and then draw 2, trash 2. It helps filter your hand because that is something that we definitely need help with in this deck. And then on top of that, it allows your board to stay protected for an entire turn cycle, which is very important in some matchups. I'm running 4 Barto. This is just a great 2K counter that also acts as a blocker. So if you do need to put something down on the field for just 3, you can have a nice little blocker there. You can grab it back with Rebecca because Rebecca can grab a 3 to 7, so you're able to at least get a 2K back in hand if you need to. So Barto here has a lot of good utility. Next, I'm running 3 of the 1 cost Rebecca Searcher. The reason I'm not running 4 here is because, well, you have a Searcher built into your leader, but this is also really great to synergize with things like Orlumbus, or maybe you need an additional search, maybe you're past the 6 card threshold and you can't use your leader ability. This 1 cost Rebecca comes in clutch, being able to look at the top 3 and then grabbing a Dressrosa and trashing the rest, so you're able to fill up your trash even more. And like I said, this is great for if Orlumbus is on the field, you can use the Orlumbus ability and then KO this, and you really don't care about this going to the trash. Next, I'm running 4 of the one-legged toy soldier. This is just a great 2K counter as well. As you can see, all of our 2K counters have amazing utility. This one probably is the best overall, being able to trash itself and then minusing a character's cost by 3. So that's a huge debuff there with the -3. Much better than a 1-cost Suru for -2 in my opinion. And of course, it's a Dressrosa type character, so you're able to search this out with your leader ability or the Rebecca searcher, which we just saw. Next, I'm running 2 Mancherry. I at first didn't really care to put this card in, but as I have been playing this deck, I find that Mancherry is very important in order to set up some combos later in the game, especially around the 4-cost Rebecca blocker. The most important thing with this Mancherry is you're able to get this 4-cost Rebecca blocker back, and with this, you're also able to play out things like Hina, -4 to something, and then also within the same turn, Zoro. So there are some really good plays that you can have on 10 that will be able to KO taller characters, which is very important in the meta as of right now. We're able to really handle like lower to the ground characters really easily because we have things like Zoro, which I've just talked about. We have things like Jack, which we'll talk about right now, being able to rest itself and then KO a 3-cost or less. You're able to draw 1 and trash 1. So once again, filling up your trash, filtering your hand, very important there. So we're able to at least hit those smaller thresholds pretty easily with this deck. So like aggro doesn't necessarily have an issue like running us over as maybe it would have in the past. But what we do have an issue with is being able to answer those tall bodies. So that's why this Rebecca, being able to grab Hina and then being able to play out the Hina, or even grab the Zoro, play Hina from hand, and then play the Zoro from hand that you just grabbed. You can all do that within a 10-don turn cycle, especially when you have cost reducers that are 1-cost events, which we'll get to at the very end of this. Of course, we've been talking about the Zoro, and I haven't really talked about the ability, but just really quickly, this is a very important character for your deck. This is what the whole deck is built around. It's a 4-cost, 6,000 power body that just says on play, rest your leader or a stage. Then you can KO a 4-cost or lower character, then place the top 2 cards of your deck into your trash. So this will be your main piece to be able to KO either tall things, wide things, whatever you need. The important thing here is that this is basically the new Kairos. As you can see, I've excluded the 3-cost Kairos because the way that that card works is you need a lot of setup for it to do well. Being able to KO a 1-cost is not necessarily the greatest thing anymore. It's a lot harder to get there without having setup, and with other things in the meta having ways to remove your board, such as being able to remove Orlumbus very easily. Kairos is not able to at least use that full utility there by getting to that 1-cost and KOing it. Yeah, you can have a character on the field that won't be KO'd for however long you can protect it for, with either resting your leader, resting your stage, whatever it is. But I think this is more important, having a 6,000 power body that can swing into Shanks naturally, also hits a higher threshold of 4. So overall, Zoro is just a much better Kairos. I'm testing out one of the new 6-cost Luffys from OP10. This one's very interesting, and I think the reason I have this in here is because there are times where you are very close to decking out, and if you have this card, this will help you prevent yourself from decking out. That, along with Mancherry, will help you prevent yourself from decking out. I do enjoy the 7-cost Luffy that restands much more, because that one at least helps you keep yourself a lot safer, because this one only bottom decks 3 things, Mancherry bottom decks 2 things, whereas the 7-cost bottom decks 7 and then can attack into things. But this one also has a secondary effect that when it's attacking, then when you're bottom decking the 3 cards, your opponent, if they have 5 or more in hand, they have to trash one of their cards from their hand. So that's kind of a cool thing to have there to keep their hand size relatively within range of you being safer to like go for lethal if you need to. Maybe they didn't expect you to have this card come down and you have like the pseudo rush with the Colosseum and you can eat a card from hand and then also swing into a character. There's a couple different plays there, of course, but mostly just testing this one out as of now. This is also kind of like a secondary Kairos because of the fact that once per turn, it cannot be KO'd by an opponent's effects. It can be bottom decked, of course, which Kairos could be as well. So this one's kind of a little bit better of a Kairos, in my opinion, for that effect. And also it has a 1k counter at worst. So overall, this is a really good card to include in the deck. I might want to increase it to 2. You also kind of don't need it either, but it's a nice to have in certain scenarios. Running 2 Hina, just a great card from starter deck 6. It says on play -4 to someone's cost on the field. This one you're going to be pairing with Rebecca, so being able to play Rebecca, grab Hina from trash. Hina can then be played off of the Rebecca ability, and then you go -4 to something. You can then use a like Tempest Kick or a Patchwork, which is an additional -3, and then you can play this Zoro and then KO anything on the field, a 10 cost, or even a Jack at that point, because I think it hits within the Jack, right? -4, -3, and then this is within 4, so So yeah, you can hit anything on the field. So super important to a lot of your combos. Very good card, and I wouldn't include it more than 2, but I also wouldn't include it less than this either. I think 2 is really the sweet spot for this card. Next, I'm running 4 Gravity Blade. This might seem very excessive, but I was running 3 and I was finding myself wanting it even more when I was at 3. The other thing here is, why is this not a Dressrosa card? It's literally happening in Dressrosa, as you can see on the card itself. So very much a flavor fail, and it might have been too overpowered. If it was also Dressrosa, you could grab it with the Rebecca leader ability, so that may be a reason why it's not Dressrosa, but I digress. It's my biggest complaint in this game as of right now. But this card is amazing. Being able to bottom deck 2 6-cost or less characters with a ability like Brook, you can hit a 7 and a 6. You can also go like Brook, one of your 1-cost reducers, and then Gravity Blade to get rid of a 10-cost and a 6-cost, which will hit everything in the field, which is amazing there. So Gravity Blade has a lot of great uses. The trigger is also very handy, being able to bottom deck a 5-cost or lower character. As I mentioned, there's a lot of important 5-costs in the game right now, so Gravity Blade being able to just get one of them off the field for free when you get hit, and if it's in your life as the trigger, amazing. Gravity Blade is your best removal tool in the deck. You might want to consider like Hound Blaze. I've seen some people run it more so in like the Usopp build. I think that's fine. You could include it in this one as well. But I think Gravity Blade, being able to go and answer 2 things, is a little bit more important for Rebecca, since Rebecca doesn't apply pressure naturally by swinging, whereas Usopp already applies pressure, so he may be able to answer something on the field by swinging. Rebecca can't do that, so in order to even the playing field, you have to play things like Gravity Blade to get rid of multiple characters in a turn. Of course, I mentioned Patchwork. This is a 1-cost event from OP05. Just says give up to one of your opponent's characters -3 cost during this turn, then up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0 isn't set as active during this next refresh phase. That doesn't come in a lot, but it could come in certain scenarios. Of course, you could go like swing a Brook, play the Patchwork, and keep a rested like Burgess tap down if you want to. That's one thing I'm thinking of right now, but mostly you're just using this for the -3 cost reduction to get things within range of either bottom decking or KOing. The other thing we have here is for Tempest Kick. This one I think is better than Patchwork and easier to hit because you can get to the 10 in your trash very quickly. In the early stages of the game, it's just a cantrip where you're using the ability to draw 1 to get further into the deck and fill up your trash a little bit. This one's not searchable. This one is, so we have 2 here, but this one doesn't draw you a card, so that's why I think it's slightly worse in that regard, but definitely needed because, of course, having as many cost reducers is very important for this deck. And then finally, I'm running 2 Colosseum. This one, I was usually running 3 to 4 in previous sets, but I don't think it's like immensely important in a lot of matchups. Maybe in your aggro matchups, you're definitely going to want to see this so that you can also like KO something in the same turn and then swing into it or swing into another body. I think that's important, but I'm running it at 2 of because there's not a lot of characters that you have that you're going to want to have come down and swing immediately. The only one that I can really think of is the 6-cost Luffy, of course. This one's a great one to just immediately get the swing in. Zoro is good to get the swing in, but I don't think this is necessary as much, or at least in like a 3 or 4 quantity, because of the amount of characters that you just want to keep standing for a turn and then use your KO ability, build a wide board, and then start poking them down once you've taken care of the board. So overall, this is a little bit of a different style of play than I have been used to building Rebecca in the past, but I think with the meta as it is right now, it's kind of an interesting spot where 10-cost Kuzan feels a little bit too slow for me. 8-cost Isho is also a really good option that can come down a turn earlier than 10-cost Kuzan. However, with Isho, it's not super impactful the turn it comes down. It might be able to rip 2 cards at random from your opponent's hand, which is really awesome if it can do that. Other times, though, your opponent might be, I guess especially against like aggro decks, they're going to be countering out because you're going to be trying to pressure the characters on the field, and as a result, their hand size will be below 6, and so Isho just kind of is a body that comes out for nothing, and sure, you can get the 1 Dawn underneath it for the next turn and have a free Tempest Kick across the board. I don't know, but like it's sometimes impactful, other times it's not. 10-cost Kuzan's like way too slow, like I mentioned. You could also run like Aramaki, but I feel like Aramaki is definitely needed with the 10-cost Kuzan. And if you want to go a little bit more low to the ground, like or Lumbus is your best bet for cost reducers. You could also run Haruden. I've tested a lot of different things, and once again, this is kind of just like where I've landed right now, but it doesn't necessarily mean this is my finished build. I'm probably going to be messing around with it as the meta evolves and continues to shape itself in different ways. Overall, very solid game plan with what this is trying to do, and I think we can accomplish it in most matchups. So let's take it into the sim and see how it does. All right, starter deck 21 Luffy is one that I actually don't have a lot of experience against, but I think it might be very similar to a lot of the aggro style builds that we've been seeing. So this hand is pretty solid in the mulligan. Of course, getting the Coliseum is the best thing you can see in your opening stages or opening turns, pun not intended there. You play the Coliseum out first, then you use your leader ability, you grab the whatever you can, and then you play out the Rebecca. This is your best opening sequence for most of your turns, if you can get this opening, of course. We filled up our trash with a Hina and 7-cost Jack. I forgot his name for a second, but I think that's fine because we can grab Jack back with the Rebecca this next turn. We're just going to counter out as much as we can because we don't know what's going to be coming our way. Sanji here is going to be quite annoying, so let's just go ahead and try to answer it. We can actually answer this turn by going Patchwork, going Rebecca, grabbing the Jack, and then playing out the Brook. Yeah, they get a card draw in the process, but that's one less body that's going to be pressuring us this next turn. They might have a rush unit come down, which is quite annoying. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and get rid of it. The other thing here is that when Brook is tapped sideways, the opponent always wants to swing into Brook. And so I will always be happy with that, of course. So yeah, I think that we're going to be in a good spot here if we can protect the Brook. If we can't, that's fine. If they go for the Brook, which they usually always do, we'll just block it. This could be a 4-cost Zoro. Yep, it is. Okay, that's fine. You know what? Not the worst thing in the world. Oh, they just decide to let it go. Very interesting here. We get a Tempest Kick. Obviously, the Tempest Kick being able to KO a 3-cost is not relevant here. Here, we could go and get rid of this Zoro, but we risk them bringing out a 6,000 power body, and I think that's probably something we're just going to have to accept, I think. We could go Rebecca first, grab a Hina. Yeah, I think we grab the Hina. We'll play out the Hina, -4 to that. What we can end up doing is then go 5 to lead and pop this and see what they bring out. We could play a Coliseum to just fill up our trash a little bit. I think that's fine. We could also use the Tempest Kick to draw further into the deck. So we have a couple of options. I'm also okay not doing anything either. I'm fine with keeping Coliseum and the Tempest Kick in hand. Just depends on... I guess this next turn could be a little bit problematic. What do we have here? Let's go ahead and use the Tempest Kick, draw for a little bit further. Okay, that's good here. What this means is that what we can do, we'll play out the Coliseum. We're just filling up the trash, getting into 7. What we're trying to do here is keep this Brook alive if possible. If we can keep the Brook alive, I think we're in a good spot. We're also able to play Orlumbus Zoro this next turn as well. So we're able to answer this Luffy, but if they throw something else down like a dragon, that might be where our priority shifts into instead. I think we can just block this one. Yeah, let's just block this one. I'm going to assume that they're going to go after the Brook with another 6, and we'll just let it go, I think. If that's the case, we could protect it, but I don't want to go too low in hand size, especially when we could use the Orlumbus the next turn. We also might be able to draw into like one of the cost reducers, like a Patchwork or... who knows what else? Ooh, okay, so this Zoro is actually really good for us because we have a Gravity Blade, and I think Gravity Blade here is going to be our best bet because that means that the Zoro effect, the on-KO effect, does not take place, and so they won't be able to cheat out another body, so that's really good for us. They'll go 3. They're just going to go 8 of face. Okay, so they're trying to break through the blocker and then I guess get me down in low hand size, I'm assuming. I'm not entirely sure here. Okay. They decided to focus on the Hina, and that's fine. I'll just go ahead and give them a 1 and a 2. That is not an issue here. We'll use our leader ability first, get a 2k, then we'll play out the Rebecca, maybe grab another 2k if we can. Let's go ahead and swing at this Zoro. Let's focus our attention on the Zoro first and see. So we're not going to play out the Rebecca. We'll just keep it in counter for right now. We're trying to get cards at hand, and if they decide to let this thing go, then we can Gravity Blade whatever they bring out, but they don't, so we're just going to Gravity Blade what's on the field. We can pass turn from there, and then if we can keep either of these units alive, I think I'm pretty happy, especially the Brook here, because if they play another 4-cost, or even a 5-cost, we could go Brook Zoro, we could go Brook Jack. We have a couple options here, but... it just depends on if they throw out any rush units this turn. That might be an issue. Yeah, okay, so this Luffy is kind of an annoyance. I was hoping that they might slow down for a turn, but it seems that they have just nothing but rush units, and that's to be expected here. They go 9 to 5. We're going to let the Hina go. We actually want the Hina in trash more often than not, but they might just go after the Brook. They do. So they clear our board, and that's fine. We do have a Brook of our own, so we could actually just play out the Brook. -1 to the Luffy, and then play out the Zoro, KO the Luffy, use our leader ability. We'll grab the 6 cost, why not? See if we can play it out. I think grabbing a 2k here is more important, and then we'll just pass a 1 Dawn open. We're going to bluff a barrier. I've actually never tried barrier, but it seems like a cool card to have, although there's not much room in Rebecca to be running stuff like that, unfortunately. But this next turn, I think we have a pretty solid board right now. We have a lot of ways to answer whatever they could throw out. So I'm not too worried with what they have. A big 10 swing is fine with me. I'll take it. And then they might have a rush unit. Okay, so they finally slowed down a little bit, which is great to see. I think we can get rid of this chopper. We can also bait them to block with it and then swing the 6 cost. But I think what we'll do first is use our leader ability by playing out the man cherry, getting to 6. Grabbing a 2k, we'll swing 5 at lead, -1 to the chopper. Then we'll play out a jack with the 7 Dawn remaining and KO the chopper, filter our hand, and then swing 6 at lead. And then we'll have a man cherry ready to be played the next turn, or the ability to be used the next turn to be able to grab like a Rebecca blocker if we need it. I think we can get rid of the Tempest Kick here. We don't necessarily need the Tempest Kick, although maybe in hindsight, this will come to bite us in the butt a little bit. We'll see. We could use some cost reducers, but I think it's fine. We also have the Man Cherry to grab like a Rebecca, which can grab a Hina, and we can get something within range. So we can actually KO an 8 cost if Brooke stays on the field, obviously with Jack staying on the field as well. But yeah, Jack's a beast against a lot of control decks. You can't really get rid of it unless you run Red Rock and you're blue. You have to swing into it, anything else. So, okay, they're just going to bring pressure to our face, and that is probably their best play, to be quite honest, because my board is getting a little bit scary for them. So yeah, that's fine here. They're just going to go and give the Sanji 2 Rested Dawn, and then they're going to be able to swing another 7. I could counter out of this one. Okay, no, they're going to swing at the Broken. That's fine. We'll let that go. Totally fine here. We can use the Jack to just KO the Sanji. We have another Jack as well. We could also swing into the Sanji with a Luffy and ask for a card. We have a lot of different plays that we could make here. And it feels good. It feels good. Sometimes with Rebecca, there's times where like the opponent just, their board gets a little bit out of control and you're like, you don't know exactly what play you can make. And maybe you only have one play you could actually realistically make, but here we have a lot of options. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and just get rid of the Zoro or the Sanji here. Doesn't really matter. We'll put some events back. We'll put something like a Zoro back, so maybe we can draw into it. Maybe a Sabo. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. They have to pitch a card from hand, so they pitch a Jambe. It's not bad. We'll use... I don't think we use our leader ability. We have a Rebecca in hand. I think what we can do is we can just swing 6 here. We'll play out the Rebecca, maybe grab a 2k. I don't think it's worth getting rid of the Zoro, because I think I'm okay with a 5k swing coming my way. So we'll just swing the Jack. See what they give us. Okay, so they take it. They're down to 1 here, and our board's looking pretty good. They have to break through a blocker and 3 swings at least. They tossed a Jambe, which I feel like that is very important for this matchup. That might mean they have another one, but usually you only run 1. I don't know. I could be wrong. I often am. We'll see. We'll see. This one is a very important turn for the opponent, because I think that if they aren't able to at least finish us off this turn, they lose the game in the following turn. We have the Luffy swing, which will eat a card from hand, plus also whatever else they need to counter out with. And then we have a Jack as well. So they go 7 here. I think we might take this one and see what they do. I don't want to give them 2 2Ks off the bat. Okay, so a Tempest Kick that doesn't matter. We're probably going to block this next one. I think that the 7k was an easy one to get out of, but I didn't want to give too much information right off the bat. I didn't want to give them 2 2ks. I want to see what else they might be doing. I want to see if they can invest more Dawn into something. Okay. 7 here. Interesting. They had another Jambe. Okay, so we're going to counter out of this one, even though whatever they throw out this final turn, we can probably counter out of. But just to play it safe, I think it's better to just go ahead and counter out now. We'll just give them 2 and a 2. And we'll see what this last card is. Could be another Zoro, but even then we could just block it. It's for 5. It could be any Luffy. The unblockable one would be... That's really good. Oh my gosh, that's insane. Okay, so they, realizing they can't win, they just went after the Zoro, and I didn't have enough to counter out of it. So here, we're just going to swing 9. They're probably going to take this one, and if they take it, they're at 5 cards. We just put all of them on Luffy and then use the Luffy ability to make them discard 1, and then they're not going to be able to counter out of the rest. So yeah, we got pretty lucky there that we had some 2K counters at the very end, and the amount of removal we had was perfect for us because we were able to bottom deck some important things. We were able to KO whatever they threw out, but they did apply a lot of pressure with those rush units. All right, we're going against Doffy here. They are still strong. I think that this deck is still strong despite it being hit by a ban, a very important ban. But I think that we need to at least respect Doffy in the meantime. So here, unfortunately, we're going to have to just Tempest Kick to draw. And we don't have any other plays here. We were at 7, so we couldn't use our leader ability. We do have a couple of Zoros, which is very important for this matchup, being able to answer whatever they have here. So with the Boa Hancock, we'll just counter out of the 6k swing with the 2k that we have. We'll play out the Zoro this next turn, resting our leader, and then KOing the Zoro, or KOing the Hancock, using our leader ability to draw nothing. Amazing. Love to see it. Okay, and then this next turn, Boa Hancock again. So this one will be probably bringing out a character. And so what we could end up doing is just swing whatever character that they have rested, unless of course it's like a Law, because then it would bounce my Zoro back. Okay, we're just gonna take this one. I think we go ahead and use it. I think we go ahead and use the Gravity Blade, bounce the Boa to the bottom of the deck. This is a little bit tricky here. What we could end up doing is maybe grab the 6-cost Luffy with the Rebecca, establish a blocker, maybe even grab a 2k or a Jack. All of these options are pretty solid. Let's grab the Jack because I think Jack is going to be harder for them to answer. And then we'll swing 9 at the Moria. I don't think they're going to counter out of this one, but they might. Who knows? And then we have a blocker to protect us. We have a Zoro on the field. And then we have next turn, if they go really wide, which they might, they go Gravity Blade. We could go Jack if they go more tall. We also have the Zoro ready to go. We have a couple of options, which is the important thing here. Having as many options every turn is always a good thing. Always a good thing. Here they play out a 3-cost Doflamingo, which I don't really see that run too often, but I can see why it would be ran. Maybe a good card to put in place of Jinbei. 9 to 6. I think this one's just an easy block here with the Weevil being cheated out. Huh. Let's swing Zoro into the Weevil and just see if they give us anything at all. They might not. If they don't, if they let this thing go, I think we can just play out the Jack and then get rid of the Doffy blocker, but we can just go ahead and patchwork and then play out the Jack, use our leader ability, grab a 2k, use the Jack ability to pitch a Orlumbus because we have so many of them, and get rid of the Weevil. And I don't think they're going to swing with this blocker, but they might. They should, to be honest. If they're playing against a control deck, blockers are never safe. They have a lot of cards in hand. We're looking pretty rough here. Trying to eat their hands, always the hardest thing against like Doffy. They have like when they play like Weevil and they're able to cheat out bodies and things like that and get card advantage back that way. It's always difficult here. Boba Hancock is one of the best cards in the deck now. If it wasn't before, it definitely is now. Into a Mihawk. Okay, so they're just going wide. I respect it and I understand why they're doing this. So yeah. Okay, so 7 and 6, we'll be able to counter out. They know we have a 2k here, so that's not the issue. This board is looking pretty good for us to just get rid of a lot of things. Go ahead and give them a 2k. We could Gravity Blade this next turn. Yeah, we could. We could also play Zoro down. Let's go ahead and go Rebecca. I think we can grab the 6-cost. Let's go ahead and play the Zoro out. And then KO the Mihawk, then we'll use our leader ability here. Once again, not grabbing anything. I think that's okay. Not the worst thing in the world. We'll go ahead and use the Jack to get rid of this Doffy blocker. I think we can pitch another Orlumbus. Then we'll go 7 into 4, clear this out. And yeah, they have a Mihawk. That sucks. But we cleared out 3 characters that turn, so I think we're looking pretty good. This next turn, they might go really wide again. Swinging 5. Are they swinging 5? Is this a 10 cost? Some of them added a 10 cost in, but I don't know if this is like... Not every build has one, I suppose. Let's go ahead. I mean, I could have blocked, but let's just take it and see what they have. Yeah, okay, it's a 10 cost. Unlucky. We do have a way to answer it though, so it's not the worst thing in the world. It doesn't look like we have a Hina in the trash, but we have Tempest Kick, we have Orlumbus, we have Jack on the field. So what we can do here is I'm thinking we swing with the Zoro first, so that we're going to have to KO something on the field, which we'll have to just KO the Zoro, which is fine. But we can grab it back with the Rebecca and have it ready for the next turn. So let's do that. We'll get a 2k out of hand. Let's go ahead and just play out the Orlumbus first, I think. Doesn't really matter too much, I don't think, about the sequencing, because we're not swinging at life. We'll KO the Zoro. We'll Tempest Kick the Kaido. We'll use the Jack. Perfect. We have a Hina that we can throw into the trash now. We'll get rid of the Kaido. Swinging 7 or 6 doesn't really matter too much with how big a hand size they have, I don't think. So let's just grab the Rebecca, or play the Rebecca, grab the Zoro, and then swing 6, but we'll use our leader ability first to see what we get. Get a Barto 2k and then swing 6 here. They'll probably protect it, and that's fine. We can answer it the next turn. And now we have 2 blockers. We have the Orlumbus on the field, a Jack ready to go, and a Zoro. This is pretty much the Exodia against Doflamingo. It's really hard for them to come back. Of course, Gravity Blade is going to be one of the few ways that they can do it, because now the Jack needs more cost reduction in order to answer anything that they throw down. Which is not a problem because we do have a Rebecca to grab things, but I don't want to be having all these Rebeccas on the field. Kind of strange. Here, we'll just go ahead and give him a 2k. Whether it's the Barto or the one-legged soldier, usually is going to be the Barto because of the fact we can grab it back with the Rebecca. And Barto is, I think the one-legged soldier is more impactful for what we're trying to do. In, like, if they go tall again, which luckily this turn they're not. Go 6. Probably have a searcher then. We could give him a 2k. Sure, let's keep as many blockers on the field as possible. If we can, I think it'd be really important to see if we can find stage. If we can find the stage, then we can play the 6-cost Luffy and then start eating their hand from when they played the Kaido. That will eat at least 3 cards if they want to keep the Mihawk alive. But we have to find it, of course. So let's use our leader ability first. Right off the top, perfect. We'll grab it instantly, playing that out. Then we'll go ahead and swing 7 into 5. This will be, we're going to just bottom deck, like, it doesn't matter. Gravity Blade, or Lumbus to put back in the trash, and then a Mancherry. This will have to be 3 cards from hand if they want to keep this thing alive, because they're going to have to pitch 1 from the Luffy ability, plus also 2 more. Keep this Mihawk alive. Not worth it. Yeah, didn't think so. Let's go ahead and swing 9 at lead. Easy take on their part. They haven't taken any life yet. Then we'll play out the Rebecca, and I guess we could grab another Zoro. Once again, Zoro is the best card we can have in this matchup. Red Rock to answer which one? Jack is the right choice. I was kind of hoping they'd answer my 6 cost. I think if Jack's on the field, that's pretty good for me. They're going to go 8 at 7. And actually, I don't have a 2k here, which is really unfortunate. They play out a lot to bounce one of the Rebecca blockers, but we have 2 established, so we can just block with the other one. And then use this other Rebecca blocker to grab something from the trash. I think we're in a pretty good spot to take over the game now. We can just swing like 7 at lead. Use this ability again because they have 8 cards in hand, so we're going to eat 1 card out of their hand. We could play out a Rebecca. Doesn't really matter what we grab with the Rebecca, but I'm more than likely going to grab a 2k here. Just so we have extra protection in hand. Brook's actually pretty good. Never mind. We're going to grab the Brook just so we have a body that's on the field like that. Nothing again. That's the 3rd time. It happens. I mean, we're running, what, like 30... Is it like 35, 36? Somewhere in that range of like dress roasted cards. So, yeah, there's a fair amount that might get trashed off the leader ability. Doesn't happen as much, but seems to for this video. Buggy here. Okay, didn't find anything off the top. They had a bunch of 2Ks in hand. Nothing really great on their part. What do they have off the top 3? They had a Teach, a 3-cost blocker. They had a Weevil. That was fine, but I guess that probably isn't going to be enough for them, and I understand why. So, yeah, we were able to answer their wideboard, and then when they went to the tall 10-cost, we had an answer for that as well. So, yeah, if they had Jinbei, though, it might be a little bit different of a story. All right, Belo Betty, another aggro deck that is probably pretty strong in this meta. I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but I think it's really good. We have whiffed again. This is a really bad showing as to using the leader ability with all the cards that we have in the deck, but that's fine. It is what it is. Some of the cards that go into the trash, we're okay with going into the trash. Gravity Blade here is one of those that we are not, though. With the Belo Betty 1 cost, I'm actually going to just play the Brook and get rid of it because they can just use their leader ability to pump that card up to 5,000, and that's going to be really annoying. Yeah. With the Karasu coming down this turn, and us not having a 2K, that would have been really bad. Let's just go ahead and play out the stage first, use our leader ability to search. This Zoro is really important in this matchup. We'll play out the Hina to -4, swing the Brook, and then just get rid of the Karasu. Just trying to get rid of the board as much as possible, and we don't have to worry about a trigger at a life that turn because we're not able to swing high enough to hit the leader. The next turn, depending on if they go wide, we have Gravity Blade to answer 2 characters. If they decide to go maybe just like 1 character this turn, we have the Zoro. We have a few options. If the Brook survives, then we can go Brook Jack, but I don't think the Brook's going to survive. Yeah, not going to survive, and that's fine. With a 4-cost Lindbergh, okay, so easy here. We're just going to be able to play out the Zoro. We'll play that out first, use it to KO. We'll use our leader ability to grab the 6-cost. We'll play out the Mancherry and use the Mancherry to grab a Brook. So we're going to put the Gravity Blade and a Brook back. We'll grab a Brook from trash, and then we'll swing 5 at lead, which is probably risky here, considering that they might have a trigger, but we'll take the risk. They're pausing. They didn't have it. Okay, that was a really good turn for us. We're in the clear somewhat. We need to get these Tempest Kicks online pretty soon, though. The problem with Mancherry is that Mancherry thins out the trash so that we are a little bit further from using our Tempest Kicks to the full extent. Unfortunate. 7 into 5, we just let that one go. Hina in the trash is always a good thing for us, so we don't mind that. Another Karasu. We need to answer that, of course. And Akuma to get rid of my Mancherry. That's rude. We're just going to Gravity Blade right back, get rid of their board. We will Tempest Kick to draw, and then I think we just swing 7. Hold on to this Tempest Kick for another cost reducer here shortly, so we can do like Tempest Kick Jack eventually. We can also on 10 just go like Brook Jack, but that doesn't seems weird. I don't know. I'd rather use like Tempest Kick, use Jack, and then maybe like the leader ability. Look further into the deck, I suppose. They're not countering out of any of this, and I think a lot of people don't counter out of Rebecca swings because they don't respect the fact that Rebecca can just like poke at them the entire game and then out of nowhere have lethal. I'm not running King Kong Gun in this build, but if I was, then that could be a real threat. Another Karasu. That is 3 Karasus now. It's insane. They've only been at the top like 15 cards of their deck. 7 to 5. We can actually protect this one, and I think we should. We'll get a Orlumbus and a Barto out of the way, and they might have a second fork. Okay, so a Karasu themselves. Why would they leave one Don? I don't know why the one Don is up there. Anyway, doesn't matter. What we can end up doing is... we have a few options, actually. Let's do Tempest Kick, minus the Karasu, play out the Jack. I like the Jack as a better option. That's great. We'll pitch out the Coliseum. Swing 6 at lead. See if they give us a 2K for this. Organize our hand a little bit. Play out the Rebecca, and we'll grab a 2K because we're light on 2Ks there. Either the One-Legged Soldier or the Sabo, either are fine. I guess it didn't really matter. Maybe the One-Legged Soldier. It doesn't... I think we're trying to get closer to closing this game out. Their bodies are not going to be coming out as frequently, I imagine, from this point on. Unless they... I don't know. They could go really wide this turn, but if they do, they're going to be on a low hand size, and then we can just kind of push... lethal at that point. We have options with the Rebecca. We can bring out a Rebecca Hina. I think I saw Hina in trash earlier. We go Rebecca Hina Brook. You could also go like just really be super protectant and go like Rebecca Sabo leader ability. You could also go Rebecca and then play out the 6-cost Luffy. That's something that's cool about this Rebecca is that it can grab the 6-cost Luffy and play at the same turn. Here, I'm just going to give them a 2K, so they're going 7 to 6. Raise max, so they're trying... okay, I see what they're doing here. They're trying to get me to use a 2K on the Zoro so that they can go all in on this Jack, because the Jack being on the field is a immense threat to Belo Betty. Being able to just pretty much answer anything that they throw down, that's a huge problem for them. So yeah, I understand why they're going minus... jeez... minus 6,000. Okay, yeah. I'm. This one's going. I could protect it, but I don't want to drop every card in hand. We can also just grab it back with Rebecca too. So, okay, and an Inazuma to swing 5 at lead. We'll take this one. Yeah, I think we'll take it. We're not in any danger of dying. And Zoro, oh my gosh, they're going to be so mad. We're going to go Zoro here and then swing Zoro into the Karasu 6 into 4. We could actually just play out the 6 cost. I think it's better to play out the 6 cost and get this online and just swing 7 at them. We don't need to use the ability. We're not in any danger of milling ourselves. And they're not going to be able to pitch a card because they're at 3. Go 6 into 5. They take it. Another pause. These pauses are giving me such anxiety. Oh no, it's a Lindbergh. Punished. Finally punished. I think that's fine. It's not the worst thing in the world for us. One body is not going to be super detrimental to our game plan here. We actually could just probably push lethal this next turn, because if they throw a single card down, we can probably math it out pretty easily if our board stays relatively alive. So we'll just see what they do here. But yeah, I was expecting like those triggers to happen a lot sooner. It's always the problem with swinging to Belo Betty. If you take care of bodies and then you swing, then they might have more bodies come out, and that's always a problem. So. All right, so they go 7 with the Lindbergh at face. They KO our Rebecca. That's fine. We'll just take it. With the Tempest Kick, the trigger does not take place because it's not a 3 cost. Can they lethal us this turn? Is there a world? 7, 7. Let's just Gravity Blade the character and then see what else they got going our way. Oh my god, they actually had a potential. They actually had potential lethal. GG to the opponent. They could have played double Inazuma, pitched the Karasu, and then swung another 7, 7. I would have been able to counter out of it, but that's actually... I didn't expect that to come down if that was the case. All right, Purple Luffy, they are going first, so we are at a slight disadvantage here, but we are able to at least answer whatever they throw down in their first turn. We'll use our leader ability to grab the 6 cost, use the 1 cost Rebecca to grab a 2k here, and then this next turn, if they use their leader ability and throw down a 4 cost, which they should, they will have that answered with the 4 cost Zoro of our own. So that's really important. I think actually second isn't awful against Purple Luffy for that reason. If we go first, we take away that curve from them, but also they could throw down a 5 cost and that might be harder for us to hit. We'll go ahead and pitch a 2k there. So Bond Clay is really easy for us to answer. So because it's easy to answer, I think I'm just going to go ahead and establish an Orlumbus instead, because I don't need to answer this Bond Clay quite yet. I'd rather have an Orlumbus ready to go for the bigger threat coming down the next turn. And if they swing the Bond Clay, I think that's fine because it's only a 5k coming our way as opposed to anything else. So yeah, I think this is fine. It's a good establishing character at least. They use leader ability to ramp up even more. Sane, is this, it could be a Luffy Taro, usually is. We'll just pitch out the 2k. Which sucks because if they swing the Bond Clay, I'm going to have to give them another 2k. I don't want to get rid of the 6 cost Luffy. I want to use it and see how it plays out in this matchup. All right, another Bond Clay to ramp up into a Sangoro. They're going very wide, which I guess is like the same thing as them playing a Luffy Taro. That's fine though. What we'll end up doing is we'll use the Orlumbus to a -4 to the Sangoro, play out the Zoro, KO the Sangoro so they don't have card draw. And we can go ahead and pass the turn from there. I think what we want to do is not use the Tempest Kick just yet. I think we want to hold on to it. See what comes down this next turn. Because if there is a big character, we're going to need to answer that. So 5k, or another Sangoro. Okay, so they're just kind of going very wide. Very, very wide. Very interesting. Okay, we can answer the Chopper and the Sangoro with a Gravity Blade of our own. Use our leader ability, grab the Zoro. And I think it's fine to just swing the Zoro in, just to have as like a bait. For me, when I swing characters in towards an opponent, for the most part, I don't mind if they go, but if I can protect them, I will. Here, I'll just give them a 2k. Once again, being very greedy on my part, because I want to keep this 6 cost in hand. The Luffy's probably going to swing at life, because they need to start pressuring me really hard, which... yeah, makes sense here. Let's go and use the Gravity Blade to get rid of one of the Bond Clays. Very good trigger there. And this next turn, we can actually go and use Tempest Kick, Gravity Blade to bottom deck both the Luffy and the Bond Clay. So that's very nice on our part here. We'll go ahead and Gravity Blade, use our leader ability afterwards, grabbing Stage, because we can go ahead and play the Stage. We can also play the Man-Cherry, but I think Stage is important here. In case they have a rush unit, we can start swinging into it with the 6 cost. If they have another like 9 cost Luffy, we could be in a little bit of a trouble thing here. Depends on what they do. If they have another 9 cost, yeah, that might be an issue. They might be wanting to get rid of this Orlumbus too. Okay. Yeah, it looks like they're going to rest the Orlumbus. I don't blame them. This card right here is probably the worst thing for Luffy to see, because they can't really do much with it. They have to either rest it and then swing into it, or Big Mom it, but able to at least protect that first swing. 7 and a 5. Yeah, this one's going to go. I could protect it once again, though. Not going to dump my whole hand to do so. We can answer this Sanji pretty easily, actually. But I think I just want to swing 7 into it. Usually, I don't want to swing at bodies. I would rather just swing at the Luffy. But let's see if we can get stuff out of hand here. Let's use our leader ability, grab a Rebecca. Let's play out the 6 cost Luffy. And I'm pretty sure that they have a Gum Gum Giant. So let's just go ahead and force them to use it here. And then pitch another card from hand. So they have to pitch one, use a Giant, and then pitch another one. So they just lose one card in this process if it's a Giant. So we'll see what it is. And this way we're like able to make sure that we're not going to deck ourselves out with this Luffy. Very important, of course. So they're pitching a Giant. Interesting. They might have another one. They might just be flooded up with Giants, which that's fair. That's a good thing to be flooded with. Yeah, okay. As expected. That's why they left 2 up, because they had 2 Giants ready to go. That's fine. Their hand's pretty healthy. Wow. 2 Giants and a 2K counter they're using to pitch out. Very interesting here. For them, I feel like it's very important to get rid of this Luffy this turn. So they might want to swing really big into the Luffy, and that's totally fine. If they swing big into the Luffy, not an issue. We'll let it down. We'll let it go down. Let it down. And then we can go like Tempest Kick Zoro to answer the Sanji, or whatever we want. We have a bunch of different options. Once again, the beauty of this deck, I feel like I've said this a few times in the course of this video, but just having as many options as we have with this deck is very nice. Being able to play a certain amount of things within certain curves is different than you would expect in like maybe other decks like Shanks, where you have what you have in your hand is exactly what you're going to play out. Whereas like with Rebecca, you can use combo pieces, which is a little bit more fun for me, although a lot harder to get your wins with. Okay, yeah, as expected, a huge swing into the Luffy will do it. That's actually really good there for them. I wouldn't have been able to counter out of an 11. If they want to go into the Zoro and just reset the board, that might be their best bet, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. Okay, so 5 into 5. They probably just have a blocker here, so let's just go ahead and take it, see what we get. With the Jack, we have even further options to get rid of stuff. I think it's probably important here to just use the Tempest Kick no matter what, but what are we using it on? We go Tempest Kick on the Kid, play out the Zoro, and then swing into 7 cost. We are at 7 in hand, so we're unable to use our leader ability here. Okay, so with the Zoro coming in from the draw, we have 1 in hand. I think that's pretty good here. Let's use our leader ability. Grab a 2K. Love to see it. Then we can swing 7 into the Zoro, get a card out of hand. And then we can swing 9 into the Zoro, and since they're tapped out, it's going to be harder for them to defend the Zoro. They might have the counter. Countering out of a 7, like a 1K requirement with a 2K is pretty good, pretty telling on our part. Either they're bricked up. What that means is they're really bricked up, and that was like their only option, or they have like really good 1Ks ready to go, which I doubt that's the case. Okay, I was wrong. There's another Sanji's really good. But are they going to pressure face, or are they going to pressure this Zoro? Okay, pressuring the Zoro is fine. They must have been leaving the 1 up for like a Giant, which I think that's fine. No issue there. All right, we're going to play out the Rebecca. We can grab a Hina, but we can also just grab the 6 cost Luffy as well. And that might be decent here. I'm playing out the Brook from hand. We'll swing 6 at lead, eat a 2K from hand. We'll swing 6 again at lead, eating another 2K. Oh, they just take it. They might take this one as well. I don't know. They might counter out of this one, not wanting to go to 0, of course. But if they take this one, then we can swing 7 into... Okay, they counter out. Counter out with 2 1Ks? Okay. That's very, very telling. We're going to swing 7 into 7, and we're going to go ahead and just use our ability just to put cards back at the bottom of the deck. It doesn't do anything to their hand, of course, but looks like their hand doesn't have much either way. They go. I think they've just given up using their leader ability to see what they have. I mean, they didn't really need to use it for the Zoro. I think it was pretty much game at that point. We'll probably see what their hand looked like in a second. But okay, Uso Hachi just playing out just to, yeah, just being cheeky here, resting the blocker, and then swinging into, I don't know, Brook. Sure, you can have it. And then we'll just load all onto the Luffy and then swing in. Yeah, counter events for days, which is probably why they just wanted to see what they had. But they didn't see Luffy Taro, which actually is really good for us. But they did go very wide instead, which was really interesting to see because usually if you're not playing Luffy Taro, it's hard to go wide. All right, back in the day of OPO4, Zoro versus Rebecca was always going to be a Rebecca favored matchup because you were able to like swing into their bodies and take care of their small wieners. Wieners, what? What am I saying? Their weenies, their one costs really easily. What a start to this game. But yeah, now it's a little bit harder because they do play a lot more of like 2 or 3 cost characters. Regardless, we should be able to answer their stuff pretty easily with this deck composition. This Luffy is really good into Zoro, but unfortunately, we just have to take the 7, but we can counter out of the 6 here. And I think this turn, what we can end up doing is just swing 6 into 6 and then use Patchwork. We're just trying to get a card out of hand here. Use the Patchwork and then play out the Zoro to KO the Luffy. I'm still dying from how I opened up this game. Oh, man. Oh, man. So, yeah, Patchwork, Zoro, and then, oh, 2K for that's really nice to see. We can also use leader ability as well. Grabbing the Sabo, just another counter in hand. Sabo is not necessarily the best card in this matchup because it doesn't really do too much other than prolong you from dying. The Zoros are the best thing to find, of course. And this looks like a very much aggro version of Zoro, which, I mean, all Zoros are aggro, right? But what I meant by that is it's the really hyper aggro where you're running like the go wide board with the animal package. You have the Kitten Killers, the new 5 cost. I've seen some run like a buggy list where that goes like more even lower to the ground and even considered more hyper aggro. I don't know if that's actually right or not, but yeah. There's a couple different variants of Zoro is what I'm trying to get at. The 4-cost Rebecca grabbing the Brook here just as a nice way to have set up for the next following turn. I could have used the Tempest Kick, but I'm holding on to it just in case they are running dragons, because some of them do run dragons, and that's kind of annoying. Also, Tempest Kick into like swinging something with Brook is pretty nice. Here we're just block. Easy block there. We're going to bait out. I think they have a shut up and come with us, so we're going to bait that out. So let's go ahead and swing with the Zoro. Leader ability first, of course, getting the 2K. For that 6 to 5, let's see if we can get out. Yes, perfect. We got the shut up and come with us, and it's the best target there for us as well. We'll use Gravity Blade to get rid of the blocker and the 3-cost. Use Tempest Kick to minus the Robson. Swing 5 with the Brook, KO the Robson. We're just answering the board left and right. It's pretty insane here. Getting to 10 so fast with Rebecca is like the easiest thing to do. You just can get your Tempest Kicks online right away. They counter out. Love to see it. 3 cards in hand. The 6-cost Luffy is like less effective right now because they don't have 5, and we also don't have a way to have it like rush. So the one thing we're kind of looking for is stage, but it's not super necessary either. Let's go ahead and counter out of this one because they might have another Kitten Killer, and if it's another Kitten Killer and they swing really big with the Kitten Killer being buffed up with me being at 2 life or less, then yeah, we can't counter out of that. We'll take the 7. Unfortunate, we have to take it. Chopper, unlucky. What we can do is go Rebecca, grab a 2K, play out the Hina. Hina will then minus 3 to the Chopper. We'll swing 4 into 2, KOing the Chopper. Play out or we'll swing Zoro. And then I think we play out the 6-cost Luffy over the Hina. Give us a 2K, pretty nice there. And pass. So we have a pretty sizable board. We have a blocker ready to go. We have nothing but counter in our hand. We're looking pretty good here. We've been able to dominate this board every turn. Everything they throw out has been taken care of that next turn. So yeah, there's a dragon. Like I said, some of them do run dragon, so understandable here. I think we just let that one go. I don't know where this dragon's going to swing next. Okay, at the board here. They're just trying to clear up, but that's not going to do it. We'll swing 7 to lead. See if they take this one. Okay, so it's a shut up and come with us. They 100% take it, and we actually have lethal because of that. So 9 to 5, and then we can just swing 13 into lead. Maybe they were looking for a blocker there. That could have actually helped them, maybe. prolong the game. But yeah, wow, we ran them over. That's insane. As per usual, Rebecca's games are very close, can be a little bit sweaty there. I definitely think that there's a certain turning point in which Rebecca then can take over a game. As you saw, though, we went against a lot of aggro decks, and I think that kind of is like what the meta is looking like right now. You have a lot of like purple Luffy. We didn't come across any Shanks. That one's a little bit more of a rough matchup, but I think it's still manageable because they do play just like one thing a turn, and you can answer one thing a turn rather easily. And the other thing is, with Zoro and like Belo Betty, those decks, of course, you're going to be wanting to mulligan for Zoro, which we saw in some of those games, and being able to answer a lot of the stuff that they threw down every turn was amazing, especially when they went really wide. Very hard to answer sometimes, but with things like Coliseum, Jack constantly sticking in the board, those things are just going to help you in those matchups. Against decks that go really tall or play like one body a turn, like Bonnie, for instance, it goes really tall. I think you actually have a very fair shot against Bonnie as well. Gravity Blade is one of the worst cards that Bonnie can see, especially considering they're adding things like the 6-cost Basil Hawkins back in. And so Gravity Blade being able to answer Hawkins and then whatever else they threw out, pretty nice, of course. Overall, I'll still be working on this list. I'll be tweaking it here and there. But in the meantime, here's at least the basis of what I've got. Hopefully you guys can take it and work on it, improve on it, maybe play it a little bit and see how you guys like it. Maybe you can come up with something a little bit different. Overall, though, I think this is a pretty solid deck list. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.